religion other than Islam. This idea? Yeah. There are two schools of interpretation of this verse broadly. The majority school of interpretation is saying, up until the time of the coming of Quran and Prophet Muhammad, there were many paths, there were many traditions upon the earth that led to God, but from that time onwards, the only acceptable path is the path based on Quran and Muhammad. This is the majority interpretation. The minority interpretation is to say that this word Islam in this sentence means submission to God. So anyone who chooses a path other than the path of submission to God will not reach their goal. This is a minority interpretation, but it's still a valid one. It goes without saying, you must have realized that if you're in my position, you have to take the minority interpretation. Otherwise, you're lost. Super kafir and damned at the same time. So this is how one has to... Now, you will find certainly many people who take that majority position, and they will say, no matter what path you follow, if it is not the path based on the Sharia, based on the Quran and Prophet Muhammad, you will not reach your goal. If or not. Leave it to God. Being not of a robot angel. Why? I have a washing machine. I throw in the washing, switch it on, it washes the clothes. I do not find any reason to give it a big kiss and say, thank you, washing machine, you have washed the clothes. It is a robot. My wife works very hard all week. The washing machine is broken. I know that on Saturday morning she will feel it necessary to get up and do all the washing by hand. I get up very early, go downstairs and do the washing by hand. Why? She's had a hard week. I love her. I do not want her to have this extra burden. I'm not a robot. I am doing an act based out of love, based out of compassion, based out of fellow feeling for another human being. That's a totally different quality of act. That is a free act. That's why we were created. Freely to choose to worship God. Yes, sir. Iblis was never a robot. He was a jinn. And you know that jinn also have free will. Okay? So, no problem with Iblis. Now, to go back to why did God create us? I created you to worship me. If you are going to worship me, four things go together in Islamic understanding. Worship, obedience. If you are going to worship me, you will live according to my guidance. You will observe my commands, and you will observe my prohibitions. Third, service. You will serve me, and you will also, first of all, serve yourself. Well, why is alcohol forbidden? Because it destroys your human nature. It destroys your human dignity. It makes you do crazy things. Why is suicide forbidden? Because it is the ultimate disservice to yourself. You kill yourself. Okay, so you are to serve God, you are to serve yourself, look after your body, don't harm it. You are to serve your family, your community, your society, if you say you worship God. Now, here comes the crucial fourth element. The fourth element is the motivation, the niyyah, the intention, and that is love. Crucially important, especially in Muslim discourse, because we don't talk enough about our love for God and God's love for us. So you remember the saying of Imam Ali, which I like, which goes like this: some people worship God out of fear of hell. That is the worship of servants. Some people worship God out of the hope of the reward of heaven. That is the worship of merchants. Buy and sell. Some people worship God out of pure love for God alone. That is the worship of the servants of God. So our motivation for worship, for service, for obedience is love of God, pure and simple. That's why we were created. And it's very important that we bring that sort of discourse into our conversation. Right, we have 2 minutes. So.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't want to give you a break because we've got a lot to get through. So I hope that the session was informative to go, and hopefully you'll work with us on this. So we were thinking that it would be nice to see if you, or to engage in some scenarios that you might come across in your life, and actually work through what you've learned or what you've heard over the last few days, and see if you can develop some answers to some of the questions that you might be posed, or some of the instances that might happen. So what we'd like you to do over the next 1 hour is, lunch will be served at 1 o'clock. Over the next 1 hour, split yourselves into small groups of 3 or 4, and think of an experience or a scenario that you might face, and think of how you might approach that scenario, your behaviors, along with responses to any questions that might be given to you based on what you've heard. So what we're trying to do is trying to take all the information we've gathered and frame it of the person asking the questions. And if it's okay, one of you can play the persona of answering, and he might give you some feedback on how you've answered the question, whether you framed it in the correct manner. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can even share the ideas. That would be appreciated, because we felt that might be a good way to put everything into context and actually take away something tangible. Does that make sense? So just to recap, groups of 4, 3 or 4, come up with the scenario you might face and start writing down some questions that you might be posed, approach it behaviorally, but also your response, verbal response. You can go anywhere in the building within reason. So I suppose over here, outside, or in that room over there. If I can ask the speakers to just float around, if you've got any questions, you can grab their attention. And I'm going to leave it open for 1 hour.
Everyone found the verse? Everyone has translation with them? Okay, let's read it in Arabic and then we translate to English, inshallah. And if you need commentary, then maybe someone can translate to French, just to make sure. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ, and when there came to them. Who is them? Who is being spoken about in this verse? Can anyone tell me? This is specifically the Jews of Medina. Keep this in mind. This verse is revealed for the Jews of Medina. Why? Because they left their locations to come to Medina to wait for whom? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. Why? Because they knew in their books that he was going to come. وَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ كِتَابٌ مِّنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ مُصَدِّقٌ لِمَا مَعَهُمْ, And when there came to them, the Jews of Medina, a book, which book? Quran, from Allah, which confirms which they already had. وَكَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. What did they used to do, these Jews of Medina? They used to seek victory, fataha. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, victory. وَكَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ, and from a long time, قبل, from before, يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ كَفَرُوا, kafir. They used to seek for victory upon those people who disbelieve. What does this mean? Our hadith, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says that the Jews living in Medina used to go to war with the polytheists of Mecca for generation after generation. And they used to call for victory through whom? The Jews of Medina would say to God, "Oh God, you have promised to send us Muhammad. Give us victory over the polytheists by virtue of Muhammad." It's phenomenal, isn't it? The Jews used to name Rasulullah by name, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and pray for victory. Who does that sound like today? Us. What do? Ya Allah, grant us victory through whom? Mahdi salamullahi alayhi. In Da'a Iftitah, Allahumma a'izzahu wa'aziz bih, wansurhu wantasir bih, wansurhu nasran aziza, waftah lahu fathan, fatah, victory. Give us a abundant, clear, fathan nasira. Allahumma inna narghabu ilayka fi dawlatin karima, tu'izzu biha al-islama wa ahla, wa tudhillu biha al-nifaqa wa ahla, wa taj'aluna fiha min ad-da'. Yes, you get the point. We pray for victory over those people who disbelieve, but by virtue of our human saviour. They prayed by virtue of their human saviour. Now, what does it say? وَكَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ يَسْتَفْتِحُونَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. From a long time back, you used to pray for victory over those people who disbelieve. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُمْ. And when he came to you, your Prophet Muhammad, to the Jews, when he came to you, مَا عَرَفُوا كَفَرُوا بِهِ. Neither did you recognize him, مَا عَرَفُوا. You didn't have ma'rifah of him, وَكَفَرُوا. And you rejected him. When Rasulullah came to the Jews in Medina, number one, they didn't have true ma'rifah. They knew his name, Muhammad, they knew his lineage, they knew where he'd come. We know Mahdi by name, we know his lineage, we know where he's going to come. That's not ma'rifah. Our comfort, like the Jews' comfort, will be our downfall. This verse has been a verse to warn us not to become like the Jews of Medina. The moment we get comfortable in Mahdi, we lose that ma'rifah of him. Right? Pain of separation that we're supposed to have. Ma'arafu, and the response of not having ma'rifah, kafaru bih. You reject it. The sequence, chronological order.
A new vision,
one new thing after the other.
But
what did Allah say?
It's too easy to say that I just have to change my interpretation because it matches more to the science and so no problem.
Why is it?
Now that's really interesting because these were Jews who believed in Rasulullah.
Is it affecting your faith?
Called upon Rasulullah, but the end of the verse.
So what impression does that give to the other party? The impression I think it gives the other party is, well, at least this guy's got an open mind to be able to accept different.
They do that. What do you do? Back off. That this young Muslim woman comes to take part in their
Responsibility on Chris is to live according to what he knows.
Response of it's in Islam. So we have
It's like the same thing.
So let's
We have got Imam Ja'far Sadiq do? What was the model of the prophets and the Imams? The model of the prophets and Imams was to go and do science, to understand the creation in order to understand God. So our aql first and foremost. Second, yaqeen. Of understanding God. Third, the text, the nusus al-diniya, the text of religion that he is following. So he is read so widely. The fact that he quotes Ali ibn Abi Talib means either he is responsible to follow Ali ibn Abi Talib, or if he doesn't follow him here, at least he should follow him here. He quotes Ali ibn Abi Talib, which means it's a wisdom upon him. He accepts logically that the sayings of Ali ibn Abi Talib are true in themselves. Make sense? If he quotes Rumi, means he believes to him that Rumi is essentially true. If he quotes Aristotle, essentially to him Aristotle's sayings are true, and therefore upon him is to follow what he knows to be hujjah upon him. If he knows hujjah on him and doesn't follow it, he is kafir. He is covered what his knowledge is. He's done kufr. But the fact that he follows to his level of certainty in his system of belief, these are some beyond understanding.
En fait, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, on a appris hier le décès de Yakat Abdul Rasoul. Donc pour lui et pour tous les Mahoumines, je vous demanderai de faire un soulé Fatiha.
أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين وقل أمري إلى الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.